unmute. Live chat. Okay. I think that's it. Yeah, we'll start off with a lovely clearing of the throat. Good morning. Okay, yes, thank you. Several pieces of 9. That was going to be the first question, was for the sound. And again, we've got the AC vent like right here, so sorry if it gets a little loud or fuzzy or whatever. Just having our tea and our breakfast. So, good morning, everyone. Hope you're having a good day. If not, then I hope that you have a better day. Let's see here. Do I futz with it or not? I'll leave it as is. Don't have to always be perfectionist. Okay, let's see. Yeah, okay, let's see here. Hello, Starry Girl. Hello, whichever pieces of 9 are here. Sound is good. Yes, hello, Roses. We haven't checked Instagram since we messaged you, so we hope that you like the dancing piece of heart cake pie, whatever the hell that emoji was. Anyway, hopefully it made you laugh. Emojis are just weird. Anyway, Naomi, hello, good to see you. Can you hear me? Can hear me. Don't need to be rude. Who's fronting? Chris at the moment. Generally, I'm the one fronting for live streams. You can just pretty much depend, unless we get like really wordy and technical, that's going to be Data, because we co-con like almost all the time, as we've explained. The others are obviously more pronounced. Generally, we don't switch during the streams because smooth switching like that, it really kind of isn't our thing. It depends on the day and our stress level and everything that we've been dealing with. This last month has been kind of, well, you can see by the bag under our eyes, you could probably put a whole bunch of groceries in these and, carry them around. Or, that thing where they wear the hoodies backwards and stick their cat inside there, so you could probably do that with the bags under our eyes. At least 4 or 5 dozen small kittens under each. But no, it's Chris, Naomi, so don't worry about that. Alicia, hello. Okay, so Cloud, Ilian, and a touch of Tom, our attorney. Okay, well, hello, Tom. Maybe Tom is here for the wordy stuff. Well, we are not sure about that, so I guess we'll find out. So, how is everyone? Hopefully everybody's doing well in their particular corner of the world. It's been a month, but we'll get into, we are going to switch that down just a minute. Just hang on while we change your point of view. Yes. Okay, well, maybe. Yeah. It's symmetry is important. It's just a thing. Okay. We will try to avoid clearing our throat as much as possible. Switching can definitely be tiring. Yes, it is. Just took a shower after work. Yay, that always feels good. We like baths in the morning. It kind of recenters us or helps us to come back from wherever the hell it is that we go when we dream, when it's not a trauma dream. But yeah, a little soak in the tub in the morning or whenever we manage to get up. It's a nice, gentle way. I don't know. The shower is kind of where we go to either have a quick rinse off, or generally when we're really under duress and we're at that back against the wall point, we'll go into the shower and it's like, okay, we're going to have a meeting here and we're not going to leave until we've hashed this all out. And, we may end up becoming a pink human raisin by the time that we're done, but that's kind of the way that we work things out when we're under like extreme duress, like extreme duress. Anyway. Doing the best you can with what we have. Yeah, amen. Isn't that all of us? Okay, so let's see here. 9 people. That's enough. We'll do something a little different. Okay, let's see. Naomi, whoops, sorry. Zoop. I'm actually on vacation with my kids and husband in Rhodes through your husband's job. Ooh, nice. Enjoy vicariously for us, please. If you get a chance to go to the, I don't remember. We don't remember if the Parthenon is in that area or not. But if you get the chance to go, please, for sure. That's one of those bucket list type things for us. We would very much like to take the classical tour of Europe, but probably not going to happen. But that's why Google Earth is great in VR, because you can literally go visit all of these places without leaving the comfort of your own home. And it's surprisingly realistic. I mean, once you get down to street level, things get a little bit fuzzy, but if you stay at about 50 to 100 feet above, things, you can really check stuff out. It's interesting. So Google Earth VR for the win. Let's see. Blue Rose has meetings in the tub. Hello, Blue Rose. How you doing? Yep, meetings in the tub. Yeah, for us, it's the shower for whatever reason. We actually think that that's tied into some of the trauma and whatnot, but we don't know. It's those vague, unconnected thingamabobber things. So, and we just said that we were trying not to clear our throat. We can't help it. Things are blooming here because of all the rain, and it's just allergies are nuts. Okay, so while we wait for people to gather and folks to question, let's do something a little different, shall we? And no, this is not going to be Percival. This is me. Sorry, girl. Yeah, we have discussions and meetings in the shower often. It's quiet and we're alone, so it's easier to talk that way. Yeah. Yeah, the last one we had was 2 years ago. When, yeah, that was a bad day. We keep alluding to it, and one of these days we'll cover it, but let's just say that our entire life went. It's one of these where it's like, okay, wife is going to leave us. Time for us to sit down and get our shit together. Needless to say, that didn't happen, but yeah, that was not a great October or fall 2 years ago whatsoever. So, yeah, let's see. Hi, everyone. It's Old Timers Day for the Mets. This Lifelink fan is watching. I will look at the stream later. Hope you all are doing well. Hello, Will's mom. Go watch your Mets. Go watch them lose. Yeah, you're probably going to blame me for jinxing, Oh, let's see. Naomi, yeah, I'm going to have to look at this. Okay. Just it got me to understand that lots of things I should be able to decide. I try answering, but the words don't come out because I fear my husband's reaction. Yes. Understand. Have fun, Will's mom. Yes. All right, so not Percival, just me. So deal with it. Roog by Philip K. Dick. Roog, the dog said. He rested his paws on the top of the fence and looked around him. The Roog came running into the yard. It was early morning, and the sun had not really come up yet. The air was cold and gray, and the walls of the house were damp with moisture. The dog opened his jaws a little as he watched his big black paws clutching the wood of the fence. The Roog stood by the open gate looking into the yard. He was a small Roog, thin and white on wobbly legs. The Roog blinked at the dog, and the dog showed his teeth. Roog, he said again. The sound echoed into the silent half-darkness. Nothing moved or stirred. The dog dropped down and walked back across the yard to the porch steps. He sat down on the bottom and watched the Roog. The Roog glanced at him. Then he stretched his neck up to the window of the house just above him. He sniffed at the window. The dog came flashing across the yard. He hit the fence and the gate shuddered and groaned. The Roog was walking quickly up the path, hurrying with funny little steps, mincing along. The dog lay down against the sots of the gate, breathing heavily, his red tongue hanging. He watched the Roog disappear. The dog lay silently, his eyes bright and black. The day was beginning to come. The sky turned a little whiter, and from all around the sounds of people echoed through the morning air. Lights popped on behind shades. In the chilly dawn, a window was opened. The dog did not move. He watched the path. In the kitchen, Mrs. Cardosi poured water into the coffee pot. Steam rose from the water, blinding her. She set the pot down on the edge of the stove and went into the pantry. When she came back, Alf was standing at the door of the kitchen. He put his glasses on. "You bring the paper?" he asked. "It's outside." Alf Cardosi walked across the kitchen. He drew the bolt on the back door and stepped out onto the porch. He looked out into the gray, damp morning. At the fence, Boris lay, black and furry, his tongue out. "Put your tongue in," Alf said. The dog looked quickly up. His tail beat against the ground. "The tongue," Alf said. "Put the tongue in." The dog and the man looked at one another. The dog whined. His eyes were bright and feverish. "You certainly are upset these days," Alf said. "You better take it easy. We're both getting too old for this excitement." He went inside the house. The sun came up. The street became bright and alive with color. The postman went along the sidewalk with his letters and magazines. Some children hurried by, laughing and talking. About 11 o'clock, Miss Cardosi swept the front porch. She sniffed the air, pausing for a moment. "Smells good today," she said. "That means it's going to be warm." In the heat of the noonday sun, the black dog lay stretched out full length under the porch. His chest rose and fell. In the cherry tree, the birds were playing, squawking, and chattering to each other. Once in a while, Boris raised his head and looked at them. Presently, he got to his feet and trotted down under the tree. He was watching under the tree when he saw the two Roogs sitting on the fence, watching him. "He's big," the first Roog said. "Most guardians aren't as big as this." The other Roog nodded, his head wobbling on his neck. Boris watched them without moving, his body stiff and hard. The Roogs were silent now, looking at the big dog with his shaggy ruff of white around his neck. "How is the offering urn?" the first Roog said. "Is it almost full?" "Yes," the other nodded. "Almost ready." "You there," the first Roog said, raising his voice. "Do you hear me? We've decided to accept the offering this time, so you remember to let us in. No nonsense now." "Don't forget," the other added, "it won't be long." Boris said nothing. The two Roogs leaped off the fence and went over together just beyond the walk. One of them brought out a map, and they studied it. "This area really is none too good for a first trial," the first Roog said. "Too many guardians. Now, the north side area, they decided," the other Roog said. "There are so many factors." "Of course." They glanced at Boris and moved back farther from the fence. He could not hear the rest of what they were saying. Presently, the Roogs put their map away and went off down the path. Boris walked over to the fence and sniffed at the boards. He smelled the sickly, rotten odor of Roogs, and the hair stood up on the back of his neck. That night, when Alf Cardosi came home, the dog was standing at the gate, looking at the walk. Alf opened the gate and went into the yard. "How are you?" he said, thumping the dog's side. "You stopped worrying? Seems like you've been nervous of late. You didn't used to be that way." Boris whined, looking intently up into the man's face. "You a good dog, Boris," Alf said. "You pretty big, too, for a dog. You don't remember long ago how you used to only be a little bit of a puppy." Boris leaned against the man's leg. "You a good dog," Alf murmured. "I wish knew what was on your mind." He went inside the house. Miss Cardosi was setting the table for dinner. Alf went into the living room and took off his coat and hat. He set his lunch pail down on the sideboard and came back into the kitchen. "What's the matter?" Miss Cardosi said. That dog got to stop making all that noise, barking. The neighbor's going to complain to the police again." "I hope we don't have to give him to your brother," Miss Cardosi said, folding her arms. "But he sure goes crazy, especially on Friday morning when the garbage men come." "Well, maybe he'll calm down," Alf said. He lit his pipe and smoked solemnly. "He didn't used to be that way. Maybe he'll get better like he was." "We'll see," Miss Cardosi said. Don't worry, it's a short story. And you can tell that it isn't Percival because he would demand perfection, and he reads that way, whereas it's not me. Anyway, on with the story. The sun rose up, cold and ominous. Mist hung over all the trees and in the low places. It was Friday morning. The black dog lay under the porch, listening, his eyes wide and staring. His coat was stiff with hoarfrost, and the breath from his nostrils made clouds of steam in the thin air. Suddenly, he turned his head and leapt up. From far off, a long way away, a faint sound came, a kind of crashing sound. "Rug!" Boris cried, looking around. He hurried to the gate and stood up, his paws on top of the fence. In the distance, the sound came again, louder now, not as far away as before. It was a clashing, clanging sound, as if something were being rolled back, as if a great door were being opened. "Rug!" Boris cried. He stared up anxiously at the darkened windows above him. Nothing stirred. Nothing. And along the street the Rugs came. The Rugs and their truck moved along, bouncing against the rough stones, crashing and whirring. "Rug!" Boris cried, and he leapt, his eyes blazing. Then he became more calm. He settled himself down on the ground and waited, listening. Out in front, the Rugs stopped their truck. He could hear them opening the doors and stepping down onto the sidewalk. Boris ran around in a little circle. He whined, and his muzzle turned once again towards the house. Inside the warm, dark bedroom, Mr. Cardosi sat up a little in bed and squinted at the clock. "That damn dog," he muttered. "That damn dog." He turned his face towards the pillow and closed his eyes again. The Rugs were coming down the path now. The first Rug pushed against the gate, and the gate opened. The Rugs came into the yard. The dog backed away from them. "Rug! Rug!" he cried. The horrid, bitter smell of Rugs came to his nose, and he turned away. "The offering urn," the first Rug said. "It is full, I think." He smiled at the rigid, angry dog. "How very good of you," he said. The Rugs came toward the metal can, and one of them took the lid from it. "Rug! Rug!" Boris cried, huddled against the bottom of the porch steps. His whole body shook with horror. The Rugs were lifting up the big metal can, turning it onto its side. The contents poured out onto the ground, and the Rugs scooped the sacks of bulging, splitting paper together, catching at the orange peels and fragments, the bits of toast and eggshells. One of the Rugs popped an eggshell into its mouth. His teeth crunched the eggshell. "Rug!" Boris cried hopelessly, almost to himself. The Rugs were finished with their work of gathering up the offering. They stopped for a moment, looking at Boris. Then slowly, silently, the Rugs looked up the side of the house, along the stucco, to the window with its brown shade pulled tightly down. "Rug!" Boris screamed, and he came towards them, dancing with fury and dismay. Reluctantly, the Rugs turned away from the window. They went through the gate, closing it behind them. "Look at him," the last Rug said with contempt, pulling his corner of the blanket up on his shoulder. Boris strained against the fence, his mouth open, snapping wildly. The biggest Rug began to wave his arms furiously, and Boris retreated. He settled down at the bottom of the porch steps, his mouth still open, and from the depths of him an unhappy, terrible moan issued forth, a wail of misery and despair. "Come on," the other Rug said to the lingering Rug at the fence. They walked up the path. "Well, except for these little places around the Guardians, this area is well cleared," the biggest Rug said. "I'll be glad when this particular Guardian is done. He certainly causes us a lot of trouble." "Don't be impatient," one of the Rugs said. He grinned. "Our truck is full enough as it is. Let's leave something for next week." All the Rugs laughed. They went on up the path, carrying the offering in the dirty, sagging blanket. Rug by Philip K. Dick. Something to start the day and perhaps to start the conversation. Now, I saw a couple of chats pop up while we were reading that. We'll go ahead and see what you had to say. And we do have a point, as usual, despite what our wife may say otherwise. Okay, so let's see here. Just a mom, yay. Such a calming voice. Can definitely hear the difference with Percival. Yeah, it's he has Percival is Percival, and I'm not. The body may have gotten the vocal training and whatnot, but I just, this is why I can't do the accents when I'm talking about them, is because that's just the way they speak. And I can't. Go DID and the weirdness. So, yes. Let's see, everybody saying hi. Mostly good, have some things come up, but that's DID. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, that's the story. So what's the point? What is the point of Rug? What is a Rug? How did the dog see it? In this case, Philip Dick is dealing with a matter of perspective. And we've talked about perspective before, and particularly in the case of denial. For example, in Trauma Doesn't Lie, we deal with this specifically, how perspective, when you are in the box, when you are in the experience, for example, if you are a child who is being abused and you have no outside frame of reference, and this is all you know, that's all you know. You consider it normal, and you don't consider the fact that you're being abused or what you're seeing is not normal. The same thing with Boris the dog in the story. He's perceiving the garbage men that come to collect the garbage every Friday as these alien creatures who mean them harm, because, or his owners harm, because they keep coming and emptying the offering urn, the garbage can that his owners are throwing the trash away in. But the dog is not perceiving it that way. The dog is perceiving that this can contains treasures, things that are important to the Cardoses. So from his point of view, these are alien invaders, literally, who just basically show up every Friday to torture him. So that's Boris's perspective. Now, the owner's perspective and the Rugs, or the garbage men, are what we perceive as reality. These are nothing more than garbage men. They're coming to do their job. The dog is giving them difficulty, just like dogs give mailmen, garbage men, all the rest. It's a very common thing to them. But from the perspective of the dog, things are far different. So again, just kind of a little short story to re-emphasize the fact that when you're in a situation, when the child is in that situation, in that toxic environment where they're being abused, they don't realize it because it's all that they see. All of that. Now, how does this extend later on? Well, because we're still more or less trapped in the same box of perception with our DID. We understand we're a system. We understand the way that we perceive things, both internally and externally, but what we may tend to forget, and what trips us up at least, is that lack of perspective. We get caught up in our own viewpoint, in our own way of looking at things, which unfortunately has been formed and is influenced by the trauma that we experienced. We've only ever learned those patterns of coping. We don't know how to express emotions properly. We don't know how to deal with anger properly. Now, of course, we're kind of dealing generally here, not specifically with us, although we have those issues. But these are skills and outlooks and perspectives that we never got, that things were never taught to us because we were locked inside of that one little box of perception that our abusers built for us and then very carefully maintained. So this is something to keep in mind as we go into the adult life, and when we as a system, or you as a system, are dealing with the outside world, and particularly with those around you. We read into body language and tones of voice and things that normals, NTs, don't really pick up on. But for us, because our amygdala, our stress response cycle, has been continually kicked on, we are perceiving those threats all over the place. So we're constantly amped up, and everyone could possibly be a threat, because that was the perspective we had back then, and that is what forms our perspective now. So it's real easy to, oh, that dude just said something under his breath. He must be pissed at me, or he must not like me, or something like that, or, he's gonna, just things like that. Or, okay, oh God, my wife just made this offhand comment, and, it's like about, she's got to go and wash the dishes, because she needs a cup for the coffee, and she needs to go and wash a coffee cup. For us, this immediately translates into I have to go and get a coffee cup because you didn't do the dishes last night. Therefore, this is your fault. It's your fault that I am now inconvenienced and I have to actually go and wash a coffee cup. Okay. This isn't logical. Okay. But this is the way that we perceive it because we were raised in that toxic environment. Our egg donor was very much that way. If things just weren't so, it would be our fault and there would be this huge emotionally abusive thing. And it was just the pattern that went on and on and on. But we didn't realize that we were in that box, that all of that was shaping our perceptions, and we never learned how to properly cope. So all of that ingrained trauma and the reinforcement and that perspective has led to difficulties later on in our relationship. And we've had to learn not to read into what our wife says or what our family members say, and not to read too much into that because of our limited perspective. And changing that perspective and catching yourself doing that can be one of the most fundamentally difficult things about trauma work and DID. Is you have to learn to overcome that box of perception, to crack that lid off and poke your nose out and go, oh my God, things aren't really the way that I thought they would. And unfortunately, it's not a one-time thing. It is a continual battle. We are constantly, almost every day, having to fight against this, having to fight against the box of perceptions, just like Boris the dog that we lived in, not perceiving the true intentions of our family members and others that have chosen to support us. So there's our little lecture. There's our little tie into the story, just something to think about and kind of maybe discuss. Let it ruminate in the back of your head. But we were reading through that the other day and went, that applies. Okay, so hopefully you enjoyed that. We'll go ahead and get to your chat things here, and hopefully that got across. I know we get a little wordy and philosophical and whatnot sometimes, but we do try to make things apply. Things that make you go, So, definitely not as well read as data, but did my best. So, let's see here. What's a roog? R-O-O-G. Roog is what the dog, that's what the dog says. Roog, that's what he sees the garbage man as. That's his term for it. So let's see. Such a calming voice, personal difference with Percival was not talking about accent. Oh, okay. Thank you, Naomi. If it's even more clear-cut division than that, cool. You guys can perceive it anyway. Let's see. It's the only real truth we have still. Yeah, unfortunately. Very true. My counselor tells me something is not a threat, and the reply is not to you. Yeah, sounds about right. Your answer is usually not yet, right? Walk in my moccasins and you can get where I am exactly. Hello. Ooh, excuse us. Hello, dragons. Welcome. You're not that late. Let's see. Yay that you're moving forward. There are dragons here. Indeed, there are. Little Threat. Hey, how's it going? How's your brother doing? Hopefully things are still status quo there. And again, salute to you for doing the inpatient care. We've done that, and it's rough. That's a drain. So full props to you. Hope everything's going well and that you're doing as well too. Let's see here. Listening, but I have to drive, so I won't be able to comment. That's okay. You can just go ahead and talk to your radio, and we'll pretend that we hear you. Okay, so let's see. Naomi, just so you know, working your way out of the box goes for singlets too. I think it's just a lot easier. Honestly, I'm not sure if it's easier or not. This kind of goes into the whole comparative trauma, why we don't believe in comparative trauma, because it's the effects. The effects of the trauma are the same. It's just, I think it's maybe just a question of duration and how long, because you can say, okay, well, I got PTSD because I was in a bad car wreck. We got PTSD because we were abused. Does the cause really matter to the symptom itself? They've both caused PTSD. The causes are different, but the underlying effect is the same. So it may just simply be a matter of efficacy of the cure and the duration, the amount of time that it takes you, and other compounding factors. But okay, maybe again, we're not sure we're illustrating exactly our point. But yeah, it's a universal thing. It's the whole perspective thing is universal, but it does apply more directly to trauma victims and folks, DID systems who have that more exacerbated perspective. The point is, remind yourself that every once in a while that things might not be exactly the way that you figure they are. So communicate, which is really hard. So yeah, definitely the working your way out of the box goes for singlets too. Yes, absolutely. Is that moving forward? We're always just aware that something might not be a threat now, but that can change any second. Let me read. Still different from where we are. Perhaps where you were previously. CPS is more than one type of trauma. Okay, so is that moving forward? We're just always aware that something might not be a threat now, but that can change at any second. Yeah. And that's valid because it could change at any second. But you've made the key step of being aware of that limitation, aware of the fact that something might not always be a threat. Your brain and your logic centers are telling your amygdala, okay, maybe we don't need, such a high level of alert. And unfortunately, it's going to keep feeding you that anyway until they come up with a way to bring the amygdala down or maybe undo the encoding in the far future and make us all normal again. Yeah, like that's ever going to happen. But you've made that important step and that important realization. And sometimes the realizations are the most important thing because everything else is kind of a trickle down from there. Until you, like for example with us, last Christmas before, when we realized that we had been amping ourselves up to have a confrontation with our wife that day, simply because that is what we experienced in the past in that toxic family environment. Our body and our brain and our reactions had come to associate the holiday with that same negative pattern and that same negative reaction, and we were unconsciously recreating that trauma. And we were actually able to sit out there and make that realization and catch that shift in perspective and go, oh crap, and then of course we came in and talked with our wives and went, haha, we were having a trauma reaction, but we actually understood it this time. And as a result, each successive effort and catching that comes a little bit easier. So yes, of course it's progress, Blue Rose. So yeah, it's true. Yeah, exactly, Chris. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Yeah, PTSD definitely sucks, Dragon, for sure. Let's see here. Alicia, am I the only one who gets worried about writing something in the chat because everyone could read it at any time in the replay later? No, that's a perfectly valid thing, but the internet does offer some anonymity. I mean, let's just think about this logically, Alicia. You're leaving a chat comment on a live stream from a very small, very niche YouTube channel. The chances of anyone ever reading the comment or using it against you in any way, shape, or form are fairly slim, and I don't think anyone here is going to judge you for it. So, this is why we always encourage open commenting and open debate. This is a safe space. You guys know the rules. I don't think we have anybody here who hasn't heard them before, so we won't go over them. But this is why we keep the rules and why we encourage folks to speak out. And all of you guys have been very supportive of each other as a result, and we love that. So yeah, Alicia, it's a perfectly rational, irrational fear, but it's okay. Set your mind at ease, at least here. But again, yeah, that's patterning, that's conditioning. But again, you're aware of it now. So okay, so let's see. Counselor, 5 Pieces of 9 is saying, counselor asked us to close our eyes and relax. Response, that isn't happening. Yeah, it's real easy to say when they're the ones sitting across the room and not re-experiencing everything with full sensorama, sight, sound, taste, touch, smell. Yeah, they'll never get that 5. They'll never understand. But they're right. It's not happening to you right now, but by the same thing, it almost feels like an invalidation of the trauma. It's like, maybe not for you, but for me right now, you want to come crawl inside of my head for the next 30 seconds while we experience this flashback? No? You sure? So yeah, but we get you. We get you. Let's see, Alicia, we think you can erase that later? Don't know, never tried. Maybe? Alicia, maybe I'm just paranoid. Maybe I should change my name and profile picture to feel more anonymous. Don't know. That's the great thing about YouTube, is you can totally do that. Just let us know if you do decide to do that, who you are, because we associate and people by your YouTube handles, and a couple of you have changed, but definitely clue us in, please. So, but yeah, you have absolutely the right to do that. Leslie Dragons is saying, doing terribly. Our mom and her husband just kicked us out. They only let us stay if we stopped taking your testosterone. How are you? We're sorry, Dragons. That sucks. And we're very sorry that the parents are not supporting you with your choices. We wish we had some advice to offer, but unfortunately that sucks, and we're sorry for you, and hope that things will work out and you find a more accepting environment to be in. Maybe you have a friend or something. We're hoping that you have some resources, but definitely sending you some good energy your way. That blows hardcore. Okay, Blue Rose, thanks, Nine and Chris. We really hadn't realized this before. Yeah, and sometimes just making the realization of the realization, realizationception, anyone, is a thing. Yeah, that's why so much about DID is so frustrating, because there's so many layers, and we're literally relearning our entire life, basically. So, yeah. But you're welcome. Okay, Naomi's saying, to Alicia, definitely not the only one. I feel like everyone thinks I'm completely dumb for writing whatever I write down. No! You're extremely intelligent. You make good comments, and you ask excellent questions. Hardly. And that's another self-perception thing that everyone, systems and NTs, gets into. But we have a constant fear that people are judging us because we are cut off from their perspective. So again, the Rug rules apply here. It applies across the board. We live within a sea of perceptions, our own perceptions, and it's real easy to get that. Is somebody judging me? What, are they going to think less of me? Particularly on the internet now, where the reactions can be instantaneous. It was a lot different when the internet didn't exist in your circle of people, but it was also worse too, because then you get into the small town thing where everybody knows everybody else's business, and we lost our point somewhere along the way. But no, you're not dumb. Write down whatever you want. Safe space here. No one's going to judge you. Okay, so let's see here. Alicia, to the right of your comment is 3 dot stack. Click on that, and there's an option to remove the comment. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we're sorry about the throat clearing, guys. We just can't help it. Let's see here. Roses is saying, to be honest, that's why I seek out therapists who have their own admitted personal trauma history. They tend to be a little bit more trauma informed. Gee, yeah, exactly. Which was one of the things that appealed to us about our previous therapist. We've already covered that ball of wax plenty of times, but yeah, she was a trauma victim herself, and we won't go into the details, but yeah, her story is gut-wrenching as well, and far more public than ours, actually, which is, again, why we won't go into it. Because, yeah, it was out there in the media at large. Long time ago, but still. But yeah, absolutely, Rose is completely correct there. Let's see. Alicia is saying, I always feel dumb, so yeah, haha. No. Don't feel dumb. Why do we always compare ourselves against others? Eternal questions. Stargirl saying, Dragons, not sure what to say, but hope you'll be out soon and be in a safe place. Yeah, because you haven't done anything to deserve that. And we know, because we're currently fighting that very same parental kick your kid out of the house. Well, we already have, but he's living in the trailer in the yard. So not even to that level, but we had far more valid and justified reasons for that and than what you're going through. So no, there is no excuse. There is absolutely no reason why they should have taken that action against you, dragons, other than their own prejudice, apparently, and bigotry. But we're very sorry for that. That sucks. Let's see. Talking more about the chat bubbles. It's trying to help where we can. Yes, correct. 5. Cloud, Ilian. Look at what you just said there. Just trying to help where we can. Now contrast that versus where you were when we first met you, when you first became a viewer to the channel, and we were encouraging you to start your own channel and get your own story out there. You went from there to now you are helping people actively and reaching out and making those connections and sharing and being more open about your experiences. Salute, kudos, good for you, very proud. And yes, we'll keep pointing that out to you because we are. And because, okay, here's our thing about compliments. Compliments cost nothing. They're free to give out when they're sincere. They make you feel good and they make the other people feel good. So why not give them? Even for little things, if it's deserved. We all need that. It's like we like to think of it as having a pocket full of candy and just, here, have a piece of happiness. You too. Maybe that's a overcompensation for our own trauma. Funny how so many people who have been traumatized are amongst the most empathetic. But yeah, compliment each other. Just drop a random compliment on somebody today and see how it makes you feel and how it makes them feel. Again, one of those active things. Okay, let's see here. Sounds pretty tedious to do after every comment, especially when you actually want to have a little chat with people, but thanks for the exhaustion. Okay, let's see. Just a mom. Our daughter was put into foster care because of the self-harm issues. Deemed this is an unfit home for her at the time. Still in shock? What? Whoa. Okay, just a mom. That's heavy. Wow. Okay, stopped us cold in our tracks there. Put into foster care because of the self-harm issues. Deemed this is an unfit home for her at the time. Still in shock. That, wow. We really don't know what to say other than, because actually we had, yeah, here we go back to that terrible fall 2 years ago when everything went, we actually, because of that event, we ended up with the local equivalent of CPS getting into our business and into our life, which was a lovely little thing. The kids weren't pulled from the house or anything like that, but having the government's fingers in your family, that's a profound feeling of violation and feeling out of control. And we are very sorry about that, just a moment. Hopefully things will work out. Please keep us updated on that to let us know what's going on and how it's going for you, because we all support you here. Okay. Not just us, but everyone here. God, that sucks. Okay, talking about counselors. Oh, here's a good point. Yeah, our counselor is a PTSD survivor, but still they are all better and think that they lose, and you think they lose the perspective. Yeah, it could be that. It could also be a part that they've made a perspective shift that you haven't. Again, it's the perspective, their perspective, your perspective. Where do you meet in the middle? Wow, sorry, we're kind of reeling over just a mom there. Yeah, Alicia is saying to Rosa's rent makes it easier to talk about stuff. I always feel like normal people just can't understand. Not that they aren't trying, they just simply can't. Yeah, because if you haven't experienced that, if you haven't experienced the traumatic event, if you haven't experienced the trauma, and the circumstances surround it, there's no frame of reference there. And particularly with DID versus NTs, our brains have been rewired to work in ways that they weren't meant to. We perceive things and are capable of perceiving things like that others can't. Like, for example, we've been trying to explain to our wife the way that and maybe this is tied with our dissociation, but we are very visually oriented. You might have noticed, symmetry is very important to us. We don't see the everyday normal world. I mean, we see it, but we see it in a different way. We see things in terms of colors and shades and light and shadows and contrasts. And okay, for example, looking at a bush, a normal people might just see a bush. They see some twigs, they see some leaves. We see infinite shades of green. We see the shadows on top of it. Sometimes we'll just stare at the shadows. Next time you take a look at a bush, try looking at the shadows of the leaves and the sticks rather than the actual things themselves, and watch how that visual perspective. But it's maybe we see things the way that, like, say, artists do. Maybe Roses can speak to this, since they're a good, great artist, actually. Yeah, here we are plugging you again. You can hate us later. But it's like, we'll stop. Then coming around to the point, Chris. Yes, I know. But there's sometimes when we'll just be staring at our wife. We'll just be looking at her, and she'll be like, "What?" And it's like, we were just admiring the way that the shadow falls off of this particular little area of your face with the light and the halo and everything. And it's the whole perceptual picture. So, and we've come to learn that not everyone, or at least no one that we've met so far, sees things in the same way. So our perceptions have differed from that, and trying to explain that to her, she says she's never going to get it. She's learned to, stop, wondering if there's a bug on her or something, and take it for the compliment that it is. But for example, okay, any other guys out there, this is for a good example. Have you ever watched your wife sleep, or your significant other sleep when they're asleep? You're up before they are, or they've fallen asleep before you. And you just watch them and look at them and observe them. And that's the same thing. And we've done that with both of our wives. And they thought it was a little weird at first, but that's when the guard is down and they're most vulnerable, and they're most, and it's not a system or a deity or a trauma thing. It's just, we're trying to express to you the way that we perceive things. There's a double layer. There's things where everything is crisp. Okay, this is a mug, that is a shelf. But then we're also looking at the blackness of the shelves and the contrast versus the wall, and the symmetry and the way that it forms this mental image and that mental image. Anyway, we're going to get back to it here because there's lots of chats. So, and we're getting a little rambly. But yeah, absolutely. Normal people just can't understand. No, particularly not, Alicia, if they're NTs and we're dealing with a system, because they can't. Some of us can stick our heads in the fish tank and others can't. 5 Pieces of 9 is saying to Alicia, if you feel safer, it'd be a good thing to change your YouTube channel username. Safety and comfort must always be the highest priority. Yes, absolutely. Ellie, oh no, I've missed 40 minutes. It's okay, Ellie. Hello. You might want to go back and rewatch. I read a little short story that is tied into our subject for the day, which is perceptions, the ones that we live in, why they are that way, and how others may perceive the same thing, but we perceive it completely differently. So, yeah. Let's see. It's not in the live part. Okay, Ellen. Yeah, that's the beginning of the thing. Let's see. Infinity System doesn't feel like it. Yeah, we hear you. It will come in time. It's like you don't want others to feel like you do. That makes sense too. How in the hell can have strangers deemed it fit? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's a feeling of profound violation when all of a sudden you have to have this woman, come into your house and explain to you how they've determined that in fact your home is a fit environment and blah 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 blah. It's like, why are you judging me to begin with? Oh, because you're mentally ill and you went off, and it's, yeah, we're not going to go into details, but yeah, it's like, yeah, in that case they had reason, but we understand that feeling of violation all too well. Oops. Smoothie. Haha, Inception chat, yeah. Rose is saying, my wife is commented that I am the only person who she knows who stares at the ceiling to observe the plaster work. Yes. Yes, when we would, and this is we found out this was actually one of the ways that we would dissociate during the trauma is we would stare up at the ceiling, which had those little popcorn bits, and we would look at the patterns and find whole places to escape there. But yeah. Let's see, 5 pieces of 9 at us. We look beyond the whole picture so that we can see if there's something that there might normally be unseen. Yeah, we understand. Blue Rose says, oh, well, yes, we see things like that too. Didn't know this was a DID thing. Not sure if it's specifically a DID thing or not. Why has this gotten wiggly? Sorry, we just noticed that our symmetry was no longer symmetrical. There we go. Okay, yeah, but yeah, Blue Rose, that's the way that we see things, and it's really tough to explain to others. And we'd like to think that, you know, maybe this is the same kind of thing that the old Renaissance masters, like say, for example, Vincent van Gogh, you know, and some of the others of the Impressionistic period. Maybe this was what they were tapping into. And I mean, hell, we know that Vincent had some serious traumas going on. I mean, just even in his later life, not saying he was a system, but maybe there is something where intense trauma, or, you know, it rewires our perceptual areas of the brain. So maybe we're tapping into that kind of thing, or they're tapping into our kind of thing. Who knows? But yes, it's so difficult to describe, because we'll just be sitting there. To them, we're just sitting there staring off into space. To us, we're looking at the miniature civilization that has been living on top of this leaf that's being hit by the sunshine from this weird yellow glowy place, and they have their lives, and the next thing you know, it's things like that. You know, it's just stuff that you can't describe to an NT, because you can barely describe it to yourself, you know. So, but yeah, chalk it up to another common thing for DID. Pia, okay, hello, and dragons. So yeah, unfortunately, just a mom as well. Some bad news in the chat today, unfortunately. Roses is saying this is also a pretty common autism experience, for your information. Yeah, absolutely. So it looks like folks who are not NTs, or not on that end of the spectrum, definitely may perceive the world in different ways, because our brain has been rewired to do so. So yeah, future study for somebody there. Anybody looking to do a master's? All right, so let's see. 5 pieces of 9 of Roses rent. Doctors' offices. I count the tiny little holes in the drop ceiling thingies. We know exactly what you're talking about. Yes. We used to do that with floor tiles. There were exactly 432 floor tiles in the room where we grew up and were abused for a long period of time. Exactly 33 slats on those wooden panel wall slats behind us, 15 on this wall. There were 10 over here because of the door frame and the light, and there were only 3 in the middle thing between the closet and the little dresser near combo thing. And we're just going to stop right there, because we really don't want to be pulled back into that room. Thank you very much. So, but yeah, we do that some. Pia saying to just a mom, my heart just dropped, really sorry. Yeah. Ellie saying, the biggest thing I observe is the rainbow colors on white walls that's always flashing around. Rainbow particles. Yes, absolutely. Let's see. Ellie saying, oh, by the way, wisdom teeth surgery went well. Yes, we were going to ask you about that. Not much pain, just worried about dry socket and being super careful with food, along with the rules of no sneezing, coughing, spitting, soda, or whatever else. Well, you must have just had it then. Yeah, after 2 or 3 days, for the first 2 or 3, as we recall, because that was like when we were 21, it's you kind of have to eat the mushy stuff. But after that, we never had the dry socket thing happen to us, but boy, we could not stand the feeling of anything in our mouth and just that cotton and, again, trauma reflex, but yeah. We feel you, but yeah, we're glad that, I'm sure that you're glad that they're out. We told you it'd be like, yeah, that's one of those where fortunately the pain goes away. Blue Rose is saying, yes, Van Gogh. When we try to explain how we see things, we often refer to Starry Night. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if any of you got to see the Van Gogh expedition that was going around, was it a year ago or so? Immersive Van Gogh. We actually took our wife to see that because Van Gogh is her favorite impressionistic, and she's big into sunflowers. So we went for our anniversary actually, and took her out to see that. That was a really cool experience, and it really helped to show. We remember sitting there with her leaning against us, and we remember looking at this and thinking, this is really kind of close to the way that we see things on a normal basis, with all of these sights and sounds and things over mixing, and it's kind of like, maybe she'll understand a little bit more. But if that's still in the area and you have a chance to catch it, the original, not the knockoff, is well worth seeing. I think they've got a couple of other artists now as well. But anyway, random thought off that. But yeah, absolutely, Blue. That's a good comparison there. Naomi is saying, just realized the house I grew up in the corridor floor had small ceramic squares with different tones of gray. I remember that the colors wouldn't be put in geometric shapes. We understand that it breaks the rules of order and minimalism and order. Rules of order. Okay, so let's see here. Yeah, see, this is why we're that person. If we go into some other person's house, like we ever do that, we'll be the person that sees a picture on the wall that's askew just a little, and we have to go up and make it symmetrical. That's the word. Yes. We understand that frustration, Naomi. Let's see. Ellie's saying that they had their surgery Tuesday. It's Saturday now, so what, day 5? Yeah, you should be good. Ellie's saying the surgery itself was hell. Conscious sedation is like nothing. How it's going to be out of it and unaware. I was aware of everything, just not a lot of feeling. Now, that's weird because they just put us out. So they must have done a different conscious sedation. We're going to have to look that up. No data. I don't want to hear about what it is now. Just file it for later, please. Anyway, where were we? Yeah, conscious sedation. 5 pieces of 9, smoke break. Be right back. Carrie. Okay, enjoy, Carrie. Hey, have we actually caught up on the chat log? Yes, we have. Haha, Ellie's saying. Yeah, so, God, I wish we had some advice to give you, just a mom. We really do. Whether you like it or not, just be polite to these people and just, because that's really all you can do. I mean, unfortunately, your entire life is under a microscope right now, and it sucks, and it's invasive, and it's offensive. There's definitely a level of offense there. It's like, who are you to judge us? Do you have any idea what we're dealing with here? Hold the course. Without knowing specifics, obviously we can't get into it, but or be more specific with our advice. But yeah, hang in there and know that we're pulling for you. And please keep us posted, like next month, with exactly what happens, because we know that you've been working really hard and doing your best to be there. And that's not fair. That's not fair. It's the real truth of it is that if somebody wants to self-harm, they're going to do it. They will find an opportunity to do it, no matter how closely they're watched. And you can't be there 24/7, 365. It's humanly impossible, which is why it's good to have more helpers, and the more people that you have involved and the more resources, it makes it easier on you. But having done the caregiving and whatnot, we get it. And it's rough, and it sucks your energy, and it taps you down. And yeah, we would be feeling very hurt and very offended if we were in your shoes right now. And we didn't have our kids taken away. But as a result of that terrible day 2 years ago, our son ended up inpatient for 7 days, and our daughter could have if she had not. But she chose not to go. They wanted to take us in. Data talked them out of it. Yeah. That's about all that we're going to get into. We will deal with the whole thing at some other point in time once we nail down everything that needs to be said, what is applicable, what is not applicable, and exactly how much we can share without really getting into it. But yeah, that was 2 years ago. And just now, lately this year, have things, I don't want to say been repaired, because unfortunately, as a result of that day, there was some irreparable damage done. That we have to live with, that was caused by our actions and our failure to communicate. There's a lot of exacerbating factors that went into that day. A lot of factors, and a lot of things that a lot of people could and should have said and done earlier. But anyway, enough on that. So yeah, just a mom, or at least you have our virtual support. Okay, let's see here. Rose is saying that she had a root canal done under conscious sedation, and oh my God, is it a weird experience? Yeah, see, we've never had that one done. I know for our stupid foot surgery, yeah, we'll get into that in a minute when we catch up. No, we haven't had it done yet. It's coming up. We'll get into that whole thing in a minute. You guys are more important. Let's see. Naomi's saying their therapist has his entry carpet the wrong way. It says welcome when you're leaving, which makes no sense. It does kind of make sense, but only if he's arrogant. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, that does seem a little weird. Alicia is saying to Ellie, don't know where you're from and what it is they are giving you there, but if it's just local anesthesia, it's not doing anything more than taking away the pain. Yeah. Cloud is back. Hello. Hope you enjoyed your smoke break, or Carrie enjoyed their smoke break. Let's see. Ellie's saying something to do with the mixed concoction they gave me was a weird odor. I know one of the docs said I was being pumped with adrenaline because I was feeling tense and shaking, and he says, nah, fine. Yeah, okay, doc. How about you sit here and take my stress response cycle? Yeah. And for what it's worth, Ellie, whenever we get blood drawn, boom, same damn thing happens to us. Dental work. Yeah, anytime. We immediately go diaphoretic because of the stress response cycle kicking in, and that adrenaline and cortisol flowing through, baby, amping you up. We've passed out before in what, 2 blood draws now? Actually, we'll get into that in a minute. Though we actually did have one successful blood draw just recently with a phlebotomist who knew what she was doing, because we actually did not freak out. She was very good. Let's see here. So, weird odor. Did they give you nitrous oxide by any chance, or any kind of a mask over? Because maybe they had a secondary anesthetic in there or something. It's the only thing I can think of. Okay, yeah, here we go. Literally should have read the next thing. You played 300 for conscious sedation and the laughing gas. Yeah, that was the smell that you smelled right there, Ellie, is the laughing gas. It does have a particular odor to it. In fact, the dentist that we got it from last, he had like a bubblegum odor for kids, and then like a citrus odor or something, but it had a weird odor in and of itself. So I'll lay odds 10-1. That's what you were smelling. Lacey is asking Roses, is that not common in the US then, only getting local anesthesia or conscious sedation? How you were calling it. Next is, Ellie's saying next is unconscious sedation in the hospital, which is, yeah, general anesthesia. Lisa's saying, yeah, okay, had laughing gas too. Never tried that before, but a friend of mine told me that it made her feel very relaxed and like nothing in the world mattered. Yeah, and Ellie's saying laughing gas smells so weird and I really didn't like it. Laughing gas is weird. Back in the late 80s, there was kind of a craze going around where they would call them poppers. what you would do is you would go into what are now called dispensaries and tobacco stores. Back then we called them head shops because they were the ones that sold the paraphernalia. It's not a bong, it's a water pipe. Yeah, whatever. But they would sell these, they would sell nitrous oxide cartridges, which are used to make whipped cream in the culinary world. And what you would do is you would get the poppers and they would have this little thing, and you'd get one of those bouncy balloon things, those big balloons, and you'd crack open the cartridge, fill up the balloon with the nitrous, and then huff it and enjoy your at-home nitrous oxide. Not something that we did a lot, but we were at a couple parties. Okay, now I've got some memory starting to niggle, so we're going to stick in a pin in that. But yeah, point is, it's weird. Makes feel weird. Let's see here. So, Dragons got a tooth pulled and they only did numbing shots. It hurt so much, they just call it pressure. Yeah, bullshit. They didn't have laughing gas as an option because of COVID. Yeah, now see, we're actually allergic to Novocaine. It will make us violently ill. Yeah, not fun stuff. So that's a spider on a hot stove thing for us. Our sympathies. Ellie's back to the laughing gas. Think it helped. They had 3 teeth pulled and they said all you'd feel was pressure, but wow, seeing it all makes it scary. Yeah, I don't want to watch. Let's see. Naomi Singh had 4 teeth taken out as a kid. Don't remember anything besides the pain after each tooth. Yeah, more about sedation. Oh, okay. Roses is saying no, poppers are totally still around and popular. Boo hiss. But it was the obvious pun. Wow, so those are still around, huh? Interesting. Pop it down to stupid things you do when you're a teenager. Okay, let's see here. 5 Pieces of 9 is saying, so if anyone had any thoughts or experience with the therapeutic use of ketamine, which is a horse tranquilizer, to treat PTSD depression? Maybe we shouldn't ask because Infinity wants to talk about the upcoming foot surgery. No, we don't. We'll gladly talk about ketamine right now. Yeah, ketamine as a horse tranquilizer. And ironically, we actually just read an article on this, or Data did. We'll let him dribble the details in, basically. But it was an article, I think it was Psychiatry Today. It was one of the psychiatry mags that he subscribes to online. And they were talking about the use of hallucinogenics, particularly psilocybin, but also ketamine, and the effects that it could have. And it actually does show in controlled doses and controlled settings, both the psilocybin and the, which is magic mushrooms, and the ketamine, that it does show improvement and that it can help, particularly with depressive symptoms and things like that. So yeah, there's definitely, we've never had it ourselves. Back then, ketamine was a, like I said, it was a horse tranquilizer people took to get high, or to not be high, whatever, since it's a tranquilizer, regardless. But yeah, according to the studies there, it has been shown that there's some use to it. We were also reading another article about electroconvulsive therapy, which is like literally voluntary electroshock, and how that has managed to help some folks deal with depression and whatnot. Frankly, we would, no, thank you very much, but yeah, we have been interested in finding, if we ever find a therapist or a psychiatrist again, who might be able to prescribe the psilocybin for us. We have in the past, recreationally, again, in our teenage years, taken magic mushrooms, and they were a profound experience. It's like all of a sudden something just clicked, and it was like, you understand yourself and your place. It opens up a whole different realm of perceptions, but it's also very peaceful and very tranquil. It's kind of like, okay, wow, I'm sitting down in the forest and I can just feel Mother Nature all around me and everything is cool. We now hypothesize that this was in fact actually helping to integrate some of, at least on a integrate, basically. The gist of it is it probably affected us a little bit differently, which is why we felt whole, or I felt whole. when we were under the influence of them. But yeah, we're kind of glad to see now that psilocybin is becoming more accepted in psychiatric use, and we would like to see how it affects us, whether or not it has any efficacy for us whatsoever in the future. So yeah, turns out that some things that were really frowned upon now, Western medicine is figuring out what indigenous peoples have known all along, is that yeah, these things have some benefits, guys. But yeah, so that's our thoughts on it. Let's see what else they had to say. Let's see here. So, where is about wisdom teeth? The upper one was, yeah, no kidding. Okay, let's see here. Ellie's saying, have an issue with swallowing everything and choking. Yeah, us too. Witchy, hello. It's okay. It's okay. You're not too terribly late. Let's see here. Getting poked with those huge things is not like, yeah, no kidding. We don't like needles at all. Data, yes. Yeah, he kind of moved towards the front there. Yeah, now you guys are beginning to pick up on when he moves in and I move back. Where do I go? I don't know. Anyway, which he's saying weed helps their CPSD pain and so much more. Getting into magic mushroom microdosing. Yeah, what you were talking about there. Yeah, if it wasn't for the medical marijuana, we would most likely be in a wheelchair because it's what it's what keeps us mobile. We had to go on that. It was kind of a last resort thing because they had us all pumped up on the painkillers, which we've had to take again recently for this stupid heel bone spurs, and it's been making us a little irritable because it does those things. So yeah. Let's see here. Counselor's office doesn't feel as comfortable in a forest with birds singing. Yeah, I don't imagine that it does. Yeah, I would kind of want to be out in nature for that. I don't. Yeah, that's a good thought. 5. We're gonna have to, or Cloud. We're gonna have to keep that in mind. Yeah. Dragon saying seconded the weed for CPSD help. Yeah, definitely. The herb has proven great value. Nature's so nice for therapy. Yes, it is. Let's see, Naomi saying, I'm sorry and I hope it won't upset you, but 11. Oh, it's 11 and the young kids have no school. No, go. Yes, absolutely to you. You guys are as well. Get some sleep, Naomi. Thank you for tuning in. And peace. Peaceful days, peaceful nights. Take care of the kids. And thank you for doing what you're doing. Okay? Take care. Drink, rest, lots of water. Let's see. Naomi saying, deserving of respect and compassion, lots of love and support from the Signet. Absolutely. Let's see. Have a good month. Ellie says to keep hyper focusing on chatting and not really watching for changes between you and Data. You could probably watch all damn day, and it's we can't see it because he and I or I can't see it. We're like, I'm sure as you guys have noticed. Our therapist said that there is a pronounced difference when he comes out or chooses to front, so it's again, perspective. We don't have that perspective, but you do. So if you can see us switching, please feel free. I mean, between us or anybody else that might leak out, let us know because we may not catch it. So yeah. Yeah, that was him. Let's see here. Okay, 5 pieces of 9 is saying to us, when someone else is not quite taking the body switching, we call it blending. Yeah, co-blending. Let's see here. Alicia's saying a good night to Alicia, and she's going to go ahead and get some sleep too. Thank you, Alicia. And if you do decide to change your your username, just do us a favor and drop us the update on DM so that we can know it's you that we're talking to. Because again, that's how we remember you guys, is by your YouTube names and whatnot. So, but yes, go get some sleep, get some rest. So let's see here. Ellie's saying, be right back, need to grab some nice soft food. So today cooking beef stroganoff. Stroganoff is good. Throw in some thyme and some sour cream. No, now we're going to stop there. We'll get Rosemary starting to poke her name. Though she makes really good beef stroganoff. Or we do. Since most of the time when she cooks, she doesn't fully front when she cooks. She kind of just, Data definitely doesn't have any part of it. So I think what she's doing is she's either actively influencing me, like kind of like a puppet or something, or maybe I just have learned to just kind of like unfocus and let her do her thing. But she does most of the cooking, but she doesn't fully front to do it. A lot. It's kind of hard to describe. So when you see her in the Rosemary Cooks, that's why she doesn't do a lot of those because I maybe, we're not sure exactly who has the issue here. We still find it awkward and weird to let the girls fully front. Yes, Mimi, we know that you're up next, and you're right. It's been a very long time. It's anyway. It's still a little weird. Even though our family has been very supportive of us and very supportive of the altar, it is still very difficult to let them fully front and make up and the whole kit and caboodle. It's not that we bother, but it's just there's still that disconnect. And so whether we hope that we're not actively suppressing them or what, but Rosemary's also one of these where it's like, I'll do what I want when I want, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it, boy. Just with a loving chuckle, but there's not an ounce of, well, no, they're not going to say there's not an ounce of malice in the woman, but definitely not towards us or the system or anything. But yeah, you step out of line with her, and you're going to know it. Just like with our grandmother, who she is patterned off of. Definitely iron fist in the velvet glove there. But on that, we can say that she will be doing a holiday edition of Rosemary Cooks. She's been planning that around in the head, but it requires other altars to do several different things, namely bootstraps to finish remodeling the kitchens and whatnot, because she absolutely refuses to film again in a kitchen that is not complete, and she's riding his ass about it. And yeah, but this is also one of the most frustrating things, and I don't know if you guys experience this, but we'll have all of these projects, we'll work feverishly at them, and then all of a sudden we'll just drop them and they'll sit there because whoever it was that was doing it loses interest, or somebody else who was not interested in it decides, I'm sick of this, so we literally have like dozens of half-finished projects around the house. So, but yeah, there will be another Rosemary Cooks. And yes, as you just saw, Mimi has been itching to do her thing. We're not sure exactly what it's going to be yet, because basically we're just going to set up the camera, since she's got the technology thing, and really has no interest in learning to run anything because, it starts up the cognitive dissonance. But basically we're just going to set up the camera for her when she says, okay, go, and I'll see what happens when I go to edit it. So who knows what's going to come up. But yeah, definitely another Mimi appearance coming up before long, and another Rosemary. And we know we haven't been putting out much content this month. We'll go into that in a minute because we've been putting it off and you guys want to hear about it, but let's check up on chat first because we're evasive that way. Okay. So let's see here. 5 Pieces 9 is saying about the psilocybin. We've had a session. There needs to be 2 people present and purposely needs to be in a controlled environment, and the nearby park is not a controlled environment. Anyone might interfere. Roses is saying mushrooms definitely saved their life. It's one of the only effective treatments for cluster headaches, which were ruining my life for well over half a decade. Yeah. Ellie's gone off to cook. Witchy's yes. Witchy wants to know, Starry Girl, any more updates? You beat us to it, Witchy. Not really. The job interview went nowhere, so still stuck in place. Sorry to hear that. Keep plugging away at it. We're pulling for you. Lost our place. Okay. Ellie's saying simple hamburger helper beef stroganoff. Even those aren't bad if you throw in yes, Rosemary, she says, throw in a little thyme and some sour cream, mix it in with the end, and it'll taste a whole lot better than it will out of that box, quote unquote. Um, she says if you don't have any time, then use salt and pepper. And if you don't have sour cream, use milk. Do you want a front? You see the frustration here. Anyway, yes, Witchy, to Starry Girl. You still tried, which is a step forward. Keep that chin up and keep chugging along. Absolutely, Witchy. Let's see. Ellie saying, I think our main fronting is everyone influences me, and I sort of forgot the word, but I'm not much of me in the mix of everyone else. Yeah, blending, co-blending. Yeah. Let's see. Starry Girl saying, yeah, therapist recommended occupational therapy for learning how to adult, basically. So yeah, it's been a lot as of late. For what it's worth, Starry Girl, our son, the one currently living in the trailer, actually just started a similar or program out here through the local clinic where he goes because he has his own issues, not DID or anything, but he's high functioning autistic and has some stuff from the death of our first wife. But anyway, despite our best efforts, he just hasn't caught on to all of the adulting advice that we've given or guidance. So he's starting a program. It's called COPA or COPA or something. Anyway, basically it teaches them life skills, job skills, and then with the aim of eventually getting them to be self-sufficient out in their workplace. So yeah, we get that. And so we're hoping that that will work for him as well. Let's see what she's saying. Bought a new pair of Stitch PJs and socks today. Made me happy and fuzzy. Cool. We've got Christopher has got flannel pants, like the standard warm fuzzy flannel pants that you buy around Christmas time for like $10. We got a blue pair and a red pair that he'll wear when he's fronting. We had to cut the legs off of them, unfortunately, because they're just so bloody hot. So they're kind of like shorts, but he wears them, particularly the blue ones, because at the time he would wear, those one-piece onesies for kids with the grippy soles on the feet, and they zip all the way down and they come up, and it's like it's a onesie basically. That's what he associates because that's what he wore, at least the earliest Christopher, I should say, because it spans up to Susie there. That's why you may hear us refer to Christopher A, B, C, D. It's like, it's not necessarily a last name. It's an ordering thing. Sometimes it's last name, sometimes it's not. Anyway, mostly ordering. But yeah, he likes those because it satisfies that same mental connection, but keeps the body from overheating. Now, of course, when he's fronting, he still perceives that he's wearing those and the tactile sensations are still there. And that may be one of the reasons why we can't wear socks. We don't like to wear socks or shoes much. Well, of course, we know why, because, ankles being tied and things like that. But anyway, we kind of wish, dead honest, that they made adult onesies because that'd be kind of comforting. Kind of weird, but, kind of comforting. Anyway. So let's see here. But yes, comfy things, warm and fuzzy things help. Let's see. Roses is saying, Lord Chris, the be right back. Got to finish this in a bit, friend. It's been 6 months to finish your project. Is an entire mood of its own with GID. Yes. 5 Pieces of 9 is also saying that explains why I'm a good starter, but finisher not so much. Yes, because we're switching. Because the altar that's been doing it loses interest or is getting shoved out by somebody else, and then eventually they do come back around and you pick that thing up again. It's like we have a giant model of the USS Constitution, which was the starship that preceded the Enterprise. The saucer of the thing is going to be like 4 foot in diameter by the time we're done, and we've been building it for about 10 years now. So that can tell you how bad it can get. Yeah, about once or twice every year, whoever it was that's been building this thing, and we're thinking that it might have been Christopher D right around that period there, who's the one doing it. But anyway, they'll come out, and then for a month or two we'll work on it, and then of course we immediately forget. So yeah, let's see. Okay, so Witchy's saying to Starry Girl, take it a step at a time, don't rush and overwhelm yourself. Absolutely. Blue Rose says, we've been listening to Mimi's playlist. She pretty much has the same taste as one of us, so she loved it. Good, I'm glad. I'm not, yeah. The origins of goth aren't to everybody's taste. She was fairly eclectic, but yeah, she definitely liked the harder rock and the, it's like with the Peter Murphy and whatnot. Oh my God, she thinks he's the most gorgeous guy on the face of the earth with those cheekbones and those beautiful velvet or violet eyes. And if I don't stop talking about this, she's going to come right out. But yeah, she'll be, or we'll be adding on her behalf any more songs that she thinks of on that. So it will be a playlist currently evolving. So don't think that it's in its final form now. I think we've already added 1 or 2 songs on since we first put it up, because she'll be listening to her music and then she'll go, hey, and it's like, you should put this on that playlist. It's like, we're like, okay, whatever. Yeah, see, she's almost right there. Okay, so yeah, we're glad that you're enjoying the playlist. We've kind of thought about doing it for other altars as well, because Rosemarie listens to a very specific type of music. So if you guys would be interested in us putting up like what each altar likes to listen to, because unfortunately it's like with the Rosemary, she likes to listen to Nat King Cole when she cooks and whatnot, and unfortunately we can't record with that because copyright issues and everything, and it's a huge pain in the neck thanks to YouTube. So we have to look up open source music in order to do that. But if you guys would like a playlist for the various altars, just to check out what we like to listen to, we'll see if we can make that happen. Drop a comment and we'll let you know. We'll see if we can make that happen. But yeah, we're glad that you've been enjoying it, Blue Rose, or that one of you has been enjoying it. Because some of us can't stand the crap that she listens to. It's like Bootstraps is like, oh God, just kill me, please. Okay, so let's see what you're saying at Blue Rose. Dad's friend has cluster headaches. He has oxygen and Botox injections. Last I heard him tell him about the shrooms. Yeah. Let's see here. Starry Girl is saying, I'm trying witchy. I'm not as good for asking for help, and I feel like I should be able to do it alone. There is a trauma response for you. We have come to rely on ourselves. Trauma victims often will end up doing things themselves, or, it's just I'm better off on my own. Why? Because we've been continually betrayed by the people who were supposed to take care of us. We've learned that we can't trust other people. We've learned that we can't trust them to follow through on their promises or their actions. And that overall, if we want something done right, we have to do it ourselves. But yeah, it's a fear and a trauma response. And it's not just, that's kind of simplistic to say that it's only that, because obviously this is a common psychological thing that everybody deals with, NTs and, from NTs to systems. It's a common thing, but I think that it's more exacerbated in the case of trauma victims, because we've got that patterning, that locked in mindset. And this has been one of the struggles that we go through, Sorry Girl, is remembering to ask for help and communicate, which is exactly what we didn't do, and that's what led to the huge thing 2 years ago. We should have communicated better, and we didn't. Enough about that. So yeah, but by the same time, give yourself some credit, okay? Take the small victories where you can, and no matter how small it is, give yourself that positive feedback. I took that first step. I got out there and I had that interview. Good for me. And you'll find that each successive step, if maybe not easier, it's a lot easier to convince yourself. Oh crap, we never put that back in. Hang on just a second. Oh, we just got low battery notice because we're idiots and forgot to plug in our charge cord. There we go. At least we thought enough to bring our USB extension in here. So yeah, anyway, Starry Girl, give yourself credit. Small steps at a time. Eat the elephant at a bite at a time, and which end you start off on is up to you. Okay, so Ellie's leaving for 30 minutes to go get her stroganoff. No, Mimi, that is a completely hideous and inappropriate joke. Okay, this is Mimi, not us. Okay, maybe possible trigger warning. What do you call a field of masturbating cows? Beef stroganoff. There, we said it. Are you happy now? Mimi's humor. Mimi's clean humor. Let me quantify that. All right, so apologies for anybody who found that offensive. Anything. Anyway, let's see here. Rosa's is saying to Witchy, oxygen, Botox did F-all for me. Microdosing did what Western medicine could not. Ellie's saying, funny how the Zoom thing happened again on the same day you did the end of the month live. Yeah, it's just things. Let's see. Blue Rose, their cats are demanding treats and cuddles. Yes. Go serve your master, human. Okay, let's see here. Starry Girl saying, logically, I know that, but the emotions say otherwise. Emotions say, just figure it out alone. No, they do make adult onesies. In fact, we have one, and it's amazing in the winter. Okay, we're going to have to look that up. Witchy's saying they make adult onesies. Some look more old school than others. Okay, well, now that we know that that's a thing, we'll have to go looking for the next time that he fronts. So thank you guys for that. Now we'll just have to see if they have blue ones with the white feet and the white trim to match it up. Okay. Blue Rose is saying, oh, we have different flavors for each altar. It works well for us. Nandan thinking the same 5 pieces. Saying, Nandan. Okay, gotcha. With the joint, yes. Okay, let's see. Ellie's saying, yep, see you in 28 minutes. Let's see, 5 pieces. The joke, that is, he's 14. Yeah, she's she's that same age range there. It gets complicated. Yeah. Okay, Their Majesty, shit, we're late. Their Majesty, and I come in on beef stroganoff, best joke we've heard all day. Yeah, Blue Rose, and I felt Mimi, very funny, really like your style, Iris. She says, thank you, Iris. Okay, how many of you are going to lurk? I can only do this if you guys are not pummeling me. Sorry, sometimes they just... I don't know if you guys experience this or not, but sometimes it gets very crowded. I mean, most of the time, everybody minds the rules, or what we've always done, which is just generally Data and I, and then most of them, 1 or 2 will come in here and kind of hang out. Again, we don't really get anyone on the left side for whatever reason. That's where we get most of our hallucinations from. But it gets very crowded here sometimes when everybody wants to have their say or make a comment or something, and it's just like, okay, just either front fully or leave me the hell alone so I can continue to be Mr. Switchboard Operator and run things and actually pay attention and be able to accomplish what I'm doing. Be nice. So, anyway. Glad you liked the beef stroganoff joke. Let's see. 5 pieces of 9 is saying they're almost always right there, the parts that is. Stargirl, yeah, the crowding is real. Dragons, yep, very crowded, especially when exciting things are happening. Now, okay, here's a question for you, because this doesn't happen to us. And we're not sure if it's because we're actively suppressing or what, or just because we're not used to dealing with it or not, but the littles don't do that generally. They don't hang out, or at least not there. Maybe further back in the headspace. I mean, Christopher doesn't. It's a very rare thing that will catch his interest enough to get him to come forward, enough to comment. Generally, most of the time, we just get vague. He tends to think more in emotions and thought pictures. I mean, he can speak, but again, which Christopher are you dealing with? But the youngest, say basically up to about 2 to 3ish. He just 1 to 3. We'll just go in there because we know more stuff happened before then, like baby territory. Anyway, we'll get away from that. but he thinks in emotions and thought pictures, but it's very rare. It's like in the day with DID, we're down the stationery aisle, and he sees the colors and the coloring books and the crayons, and he pops out color. That's about as much as he ever gets. But now Susie, every once in a while, will push her way, but again with her, she still kind of lurks. I mean, she's further forward than Christopher is, but it's like there's kind of like this nebulous cutoff. I don't know. Or how about you guys? Are your littles always up front? Are ours just more secretive? Do you think maybe we're subconsciously suppressing them because there's so much trauma there? But with Christopher, he's expressed most of it. So it's not like we're actively suppressing, but this is one of these question mark areas for us where we're trying to figure it out. It's like we want to give them time, and their time, which nominally is supposed to be every Saturday night. Now, unfortunately, so maybe we are subconsciously or actively trying to suppress them. Whoever it is that up front, we get caught into that loop of wearing ourselves out, and we never get to okay, it's the littles time now, because we get into this, oh, well, it'll just be easier for them if they front when everybody's asleep. That way we don't have to worry about any but then by the time everybody's asleep, it's 11:30 and the body's tired, and they keep getting gypped out of their time. And lately it's been more because John, or at least John's trauma, has been pounding at the gates. Again, we can't communicate with him, but we have been having a lot of new leak through from that particular era, and we've went through enough trauma bubbles to know that our junior high years, which we don't remember jack about, no, not you, Jack, that we don't remember anything about. It's just like this huge 3-year blank. But we have had bits and pieces starting to float back, so we know. And like we covered in the Echoes of Darkness, the first half of our sleep paralysis thing. Yes, we are going to do the second half. It's just things have gotten sidetracked because of what happened this month, which, yes, we will get to telling you in a minute. But first, we want to hear what your thoughts about the whole thing with our littles, because we're really curious about that, because unfortunately, our database is you guys. The technical papers data digs up only tell part of the story, if that makes sense. Anyway, we're gonna check up on this. So just a sec. Okay, so crowding is real, especially when citing things. Worse for them in fear or stress situations. 5 Pieces of 9 are saying their littles are visually oriented. In Walmart, they see stuffed animals and there are littles. Okay, yeah, we do get that a little bit. I think we understand. Their Majesty saying feeling a little's emotions without memory really sucks, doesn't it? Yeah. Dragons, our littles come forward and are part of the crowd when we do kids stuff, and also when we Zoom with our friends or Instagram message them and they make us say stuff for them. Okay, interesting. Their Majesties also, yeah, especially if they're trauma holders, feeling their emotions without the context. Yeah, it can be difficult. 5 Piece of 9 is agreeing. Witchy says, my phone went nuts. I didn't mean to leave. Back now, though. It's okay. Happens. Their Majesty saying, got a little who wants to front all the time and one who will not ever. Okay. Blue Rose is saying, there are some of us under 12 who hang out like that, but they're the only ones who do this. The others are either too young or too traumatized, I guess. Just a mom. Daughters we ones are both trained, yeah, to be quiet and hide, or they are scared of fronting alone for safety reasons. Okay, yeah. So it sounds like we're not alone in that, but maybe ours are just a little bit further back, maybe because of the trauma, or maybe because we are suppressing that, or it's possible that they could be passively, that their fears could be passively influencing us to skip over that time for the littles. We've been basically recently trying to, if we get one of those urges or thought bubbles or something like that, it's like the other one, we got a flash from somebody who wanted to play with the Lincoln logs. So we got them out, we're playing with them. We're not sure who it was. We're not sure who exactly fronted, but it's, of course, due to the memory drain off, because once they leave, it goes memory gone. But we've learned to pay more attention to those flashes or whatever they are of interest or whatnot, and listen to them more. So we are trying to be more accommodating of the littles, but yeah, it's a mess right now on the inside, because we've got that trauma stuff coming out from junior high, which is directly, that's John, Jack, Mimi, and Christopher D, and E. We're going to run out of letters trying to work this out. But we've had that coming out, so we're trying to be better in tune and to listen more to them and overcome that, oh my God, I'm about to turn into a 3-year-old child, what the fuck? It's we still experience a lot of that, oh my God, this is so weird, but I am trying really hard to overcome that and to let them have their time out. Even though the fact that Susie scares the hell out of us with her bright, cheery, la 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 la, strawberries, pink frou-frou dresses. Anyway, so what are your thoughts here? Okay, let's see here. Their Majesty's got a little who wants to front all the time, who will not, and one who will not ever. We got to that. 5 pieces of 9. Their littles will not front on command. No, we never try to front them on command, nor when time stamped, i.e. a time set aside for them, yet ironically they feel like we never pay attention to them. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. We see what you're saying. Haven't experienced that directly, but we get where you're coming from. Witchy's saying, while I'm still on the waiting list, the therapist wants me to try and get into journaling, even if it's just random sentences throughout the day sometimes, and try to pin in some of my triggers. Yeah, we've been doing, we've taken up the video journal. I have taken up the video journaling again. The bits of footage that we show you guys, the raw, unedited stuff when we want to illustrate a point on our multi-point episodes. We took all that very early on, and we've had a lag period as we go on. But we've had the content of the channel basically to kind of chart that. But I have started to read. We want to try to get into doing at least every other day or so, just recording a short snippet, or me recording a short snippet summary of the day, so that we can look back on it, because we know that DID is not an end goal thing, but instead a progression. And there's got to be stuff that we're going through right now that we're not seeing or not perceiving that will prove to be valuable in the future. We're constantly surprised going back, watching some of the old footage, just how much is blatantly obvious to us now that we had no idea was going on then. We actually just found a whole cache of not new, but a whole cache of videos that we didn't even know existed, that apparently data archived away someplace in a weird location. But we just found those, and we're rewatching them and going, wow, there's some stuff there. So that's a practice, because we've tried the journaling, and we did that like for the first year, 2 years, but we get so busy, and it may just be easier for me to sit down in front of a camera, for 5, 10, though 17 minutes or so seems to be our standard, and just get it out and document it and archive it for further use. So yeah. Let's see, 5 pieces of 9 is saying journaling isn't happening with our system. We just need to be consistent. Lisa, hello, welcome. Witchy is saying used to journal a lot till my sister hid and read my journal right around 7 to 10, I want to say. It gets a little muddy. We kept a journal. It was like a school project, but then we started carrying on, like a diary. They were called diaries back then. And we kept one for about 3 months, and Egg Donor found it. Egg Donor found it, violated our privacy, and we ended up getting in trouble about it, and a whole kit and caboodle. So yeah, we had our most intimate thoughts stripped bare. And now we wonder what was in that journal, because she took it and didn't give it back to us. So we get that invasion of privacy here. Big time. Blue Rose still getting used to paying attention to the littles needs to play, especially with litters. Sorry, I don't know why that's funny. Especially glossolalia, gotta love it. Especially with the littles under 5 or so. Their Majesty is telling Witchy, have you tried the ANTAR app? It's like texting between altars. Works better first than journals. I've never even heard of that. We're going to have to look that one up. Thank you for mentioning that, Their Majesty. Folks saying hello to Lisa. Let's see. Their Majesty, no system, so didn't think about that. Never got yours back either. Yeah. Yeah, and I will still remember that feeling of violation to this day. It is seared into our soul. Yet another way that the young, romantic, idealistic us was... Yeah, anyway. We've been dealing with a bit of anger towards her lately. I mean, like all the time, but sometimes it crops up harder. And yeah, it's like I said. Abigail, hello. If you're new, if not, have we seen you before? Not sure. If not, welcome. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the live chat. Good to see you. They have been working on journaling, but not all your parts will journal. When we journal, I've been the only one doing it. Actually, Nigel and Percival appeared when we were journaling. There's a journal entry there where the handwriting just all of a sudden is completely and utterly different twice. Nigel actually came out first, and then Percival followed thereafter, but it was very brief. And Rosemary chipped in once, but basically it's been me, Chris, doing most of the journaling. Unless it's data taking down our vitals and whatnot, because data is data. So, we do have a journal where it's like for group, we have it labeled messages to each other, but to date, nobody has written. Actually, you know what? It's been like 2 months. I should probably go and check. And see if anybody has written anything in it, but thus far nobody has chosen to do so. Don't know if that ever just didn't occur to us, or I don't know. Good thought though, Abigail. We're gonna have to figure that out. Thank you. Let's see, Blue Rose. How brave of young you to write stuff down. Thank you. And I wish to hell I knew what was in there. We have a vague memory. Oh, here it comes. Okay. Yeah, we're just going to poke real brief. We have a vague memory, rather, Christopher D or C, right on around there. Like I said, they kind of come close to close with one another. We have a vague memory of meeting a girl. Not trauma related, but one of the neighborhood girls, and forming a friendship with her. Anyway, it was a crush, and we were very big into King Arthur at that time. And okay, I'm literally seeing the journal right now in front of me, and it's like the single sentence that stands out is that I think I found my Guinevere, or something like that. It's this image of this hopeless, pure, romantic love type thing, and now we're remembering her mocking us for that. That's where the tie-in came from. Right there, you just got a perfect example of how this stuff dribbles back for us. and the layer of the onion starts, because we'll start off with just a little brief disconnected thing. And then all of a sudden, if we try to follow that thought or that emotion, we're there, and it leads to something else. So right there, that's a living example. Okay, so let's see. You watched it on the live stream. So yeah, brave of us to write stuff down. Yeah, and I wish I knew what was in the rest of it. I really do. Okay, 5 pieces 9, deep breathe, everyone. Yes. Witchy, I had poems, thoughts, rants. Everything in there was a lot after a really traumatic time, so must have been pretty dark at times. But I've been scared to journal since. Do it. Take your power back. You know what? The same thing would apply to us. They took our power away by taking the journal away from us and invasively reading it. So what we really need to do is to flip that back around and journal again, kind of do it as a spite thing if you want. We're kind of a big believer in you're entitled to your anger as long as you express it appropriately, which we have not done in the past. We can be very unstable, and there is a certain point where somebody, we're not sure who it is, we don't think it's Bootstraps, because he is not as vitriolic and nasty as we can get sometimes. And unfortunately, mea culpa time, we just recently had this happen again. And unfortunately, it happened to a very close friend of ours, and they were on the receiving end of that anger and that nastiness. We were not particularly stable that day, and whoever it was stepped right in and said some very nasty things. And even though we've already apologized, and even though we know that you've accepted our apology, Roses, we still visually and verbally want to say how sorry we are that you were on the receiving end of that. We were completely out of line, and you did not deserve that. And we are very grateful that you have chosen to forgive us for that. And we know that there's still some lingering trauma-related bits there, but we wanted to take this opportunity to publicly apologize. We were wrong, and you saw exactly why we ended up going in for therapy, which led to us, discovering that we were a system. So yeah, for the rest of you who are not involved in that, take this as a prime example that we are not always stable, and we do backslide, and we have a very nasty, negative, angry side to us that you guys don't see. Roses can now attest, and you're free to do that. But anyway, Roses, we're sorry. Thank you for being understanding, for being truly understanding, and being willing to forgive us for that misstep. We've never had friends before, so we're still flailing through this, and yeah, so there's that. We're going to get back to the chat log, so sorry, excuse us. So yeah, James, okay, saying hi. Witchy deep breath, Chris, sending witchy hugs, thank you. Dragons journaled for like a month. It was so weird, handwriting changes, so many names, and there were birthday notes. From a parental altar to littles. It makes it too real, can't stand journaling. Yeah, we can understand why that would make it difficult. Let's see, 5 pieces of 9. Ugh, English, breath versus breathe. What language does that? The English language, because we're whack. Let's see. Our friends group calls that spiteful healing. I like that. Let's see here. Their Majesty says this might be helpful. I don't know if this was just a UK thing, but in the early 2000s, toy shops used to make mechanical locking journals that are pretty hard to actually break into. They're also super bright and can encourage littles to journal. So I thought it would be worth saying just in case it could help someone. That's interesting. Could you find a link to what you're talking about and throw it down in the in the chat log or in the comments of the actual live stream. If you do that, that'd be great, so that folks could find it and we know particularly what you're talking about. That'd be great. Okay, looks like we are caught up on the chat logs here. So yes, we've been putting it off. Let's get into our month. We are sorry that we haven't had much content out this month. There have been extenuating circumstances. We did have data play for you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. That is his stress relieving activity. All of those were all variations of his own or his own compositions. I/we. Anyway, he likes that. That's what he does. It's the mathematics of it. He sees music as math. It's an equation to him. And so he's taken various pieces like Fear Release, obviously, the variations on that you heard. And the Green Sleeves was pretty much straight out, but everything else that he was playing there, that was his own work. That's his own variations and compositions. Actually, I think it's the second piece that we're playing. He's been working on that one since we were in high school. So that goes to tell you just how long it's been. But that's what calms him. It calms him down because he thinks rationally. Very, it's math. It's science to him. It's the acoustic sound of this works. This dissonance will then match with this, and that's what he does. So it's like even in his even his relaxation things are based. So yeah, hopefully we that you guys enjoyed that. Maybe he'll play again at some point. A lot of you said that you found it relaxing. That's great. He was. We were kind of surprised by that, because that's he was doing most of that in a minor key, which it's like, oh God, here he goes with the depressing stuff again. But actually listening to it as we rewatched it, it was quite a unique experience because I'm co-fronting, more or less. I just kind of wherever the hell I go, I'm not fully out at that point, but he's fronting when he does that, and which actually might explain why our vision sucks right afterwards. We get all blurry. For whatever reason, we've noticed that, but that's his thing to relax. And, he was just kind of doing that. So anyway, lost the train of thought there. So yeah, unfortunately, that's really the only content we had. We are going to get to the second half of the sleep paralysis and nightmare things, and he'll go into, what causes them, how you can help prevent them, things like that. We got to do up, or rather I have to do up, some graphics for that to help explain things better, because we've noted a lot of you have said, hey, you were really great at explaining these kind of things. It's like, oh, thank you. But it's so we're trying to make it these complex concepts as simple to understand as easy to understand as possible, and visually, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So why didn't we get the second half done? Why haven't we had anything else? Because of this stupid ankle. As some of you know, what was it, back the end of July, we went in to have the pain in our ankle diagnosed and found out it was bone spurs and whatnot, and that we would have to have, after 2-3 weeks in that stupid boot, which we should still be wearing, but it also makes it hurt more at this point. We discovered that, yeah, unfortunately, we're going to have to go in for the surgery, which was supposed to be last week. Now, we have mentioned in the past that we have medical-based trauma. Not only from our own trauma, but from having to deal with our first wife and all of the medical stuff that she had to go through. And we were right there by her side, step by step, all the way through to the end. Taking care of her, cleaning her up every day, dressing her wounds. For those of you like Little Threat, you know what we're talking about here. Anyone who has done end-of-life care, you know how grueling and difficult it can be, and taxing. So we have some aversions, and our surgery is going to be done once it gets rescheduled at the same complex where a lot of our wife's, we know this place like the back of our hand. We've slept on the floors there of this place. And let me tell you, a hospital floor is a lot more comfortable than one of those stupid chairs. At least for us. So we have some pre-existing issues with medical things. like we were talking about earlier. And plus, this is a major one. This will be the first time, except for the wisdom teeth, which was back in our early 20s, that we will have been put out for general sedation. This is a full sedation procedure. And it's caused a lot of upset in the system, because even though it was a remote possibility, there's still that chance that when you undergo anesthesia, and we are on the psych meds, and we do have high blood pressure, like insanely high blood pressure, not when we take our meds, but before that, we were at 220 over 180 regularly, which is we should have had a stroke and be dead. And it's like our physician literally looked at us and went, "Why? How are you still alive?" It's like, because we're stubborn. But that's back under control now. But there is always a risk that something may happen, which actually we're getting to that in a minute. But this has affected the system with the fear of dying. Literally the night before, so we had ourselves wound up. We went in. We were trying to deal with it. I was trying to keep control over the system because this is a traumatic thing. And we went in for the blood work the day before the surgery, which actually makes no sense. The hospital calls us in to have the blood work. We were just expecting, okay, blood draw, blah, blah, blah. That would be it. Oh, no, we also, by the way, we also have to get an EKG, and we need to do an x-ray of your chest to make sure that you're clear, blah, blah, blah. So it's like this 2:30 to 3 o'clock appointment that we were supposed to have in the hospital, which we're already doing our best to control ourselves and keep that wash of traumatic memories at bay and stay within ourselves, as Chris does the tap dance. That turned into until about 4 o'clock. So yeah, that was not fun. And then we get out of there and we go home, and we had already had to jump through hoops and rearrange our lives in order to have this surgery, because they only either do them on Wednesdays or on Fridays. And she had said that they could only book the Wednesdays, but our wife is a teacher, as we've mentioned, and getting a day off as a teacher, you have to jump through 400 flaming hoops in order to do this. And so finally, we had gotten the date nailed down, and she had gotten the time off and submitted everything, and got the blood work done the night before. We get home, dreadfully anticipating what's going to happen the next day, and the blood drawer, or the nurse that was there, she's like, "Well, unfortunately, your potassium's low. It's at a 2.9, and we need to get that back up, or they may not want to do the surgery because your potassium is extremely low." Well, the low range of normal is considered a 3.5, apparently. So I'm like, okay, what can we do? I mean, we just had to literally turn our lives upside down to have this damn surgery. And she's like, "Well, just eat like a bunch of bananas tonight, get some supplements, take them, and we'll do the blood work again tomorrow before the surgery and go from there." And we're thinking, okay, I mean, we ate six bananas, one after another. Do you have, and it's like Paul Newman in, with the egg eating scene out of Cool Hand Luke. Oh my, ugh. Try eating 6 bananas sometimes. You'll rapidly, anyway. So we take those, we take the supplements, okay, and that night we are freaking out, okay. I'm doing my best to consume control, but the littles are going and everybody else is going, and we were literally to the point where before we could fall asleep, we held the phone and we recorded one of those, "If you're watching this, we're dead," messages. So we get done with that, and we finally fall asleep at about 3:30, and we have to be in there at 10 o'clock, which means that we have to be up at 8 in order to get everything and get ready. And unfortunately, this was fasting, because before an operation, you can't have anything to eat or drink. So it's like it's the middle of the night, and we are ravenous and thirsty because we got the middle of the night eater, and we can't do that. So we get up, and we'd literally been up for like 5 minutes when we get a call from the podiatrist secretary. The hospital just called, and with your potassium levels being low, the anesthesiologist has canceled the surgery. After weeks and weeks of rearranging our lives so this can happen, turns out our wife took a day off for nothing, well, half a day anyway, and went through all of that. So it's like, So our surgery is now going to, well, we've got an appointment Tuesday to go back to the podiatrist. They're just simply going to do the labs there and send them in. And then hopefully September 9th on Friday, we will be going in to have the actual surgery done. So what is the upshot of all this? Well, because of all of this and because of all of the trauma leakage, we just haven't had the energy to do the content and to turn it out, because it's been all that we can do to just deal with this and all the ancillary trauma issues that have arisen because of it. And, now, of course, we have a whole other week to worry and expect and freak out, just like we have already. Fortunately, because we've already had that, and we slept the next day. We slept that whole damn day just simply from the emotional backlash of having to deal with this. It's like, okay, crisis, crisis, crisis averted, crash, I mean, we slept like almost full 24 hours straight, which was great, need the sleep, but not the best way. So now we know that we're going to have another round of emotional backlash later, and it's one of these things where it's like bootstraps is all, oh, well, we need to get this project done and that project done before we're laid up for 2 months, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, oh, guys, you're killing me. So that's why when we've just been in massive pain, and we have a high threshold, a very high pain threshold for obvious reasons. Hello, scars on our wrists and ankles. So, that's that. So yeah, for the next week or so, we're going to be on the same go around. It's like just basically we sent this little emoji gift to Roses when we were telling her about it, where it's Alice from Alice in Wonderland, and she's sitting there going, it's like pretty much that's been us. So yeah, coming up in the next month. But the upside to this, at least for you guys, is that we're going to be laid up, so we're going to have lots of time on our hands in order to create content. So we will be doing the second part of Echoes of Darkness about the sleep paralysis and the nightmares and DID and how that affects us, and what we can do to minimize them, but the whole process of why your brain does this, what they are, what causes them, how we can minimize them, how they are directly related to trauma, the wordy bulk. The part 2 of all of our episodes, where we show you the footage first, and then Data does his here, drink from a fire hose of knowledge thing. So we'll have the second part of that coming up. We still have one episode of Little Stories that was pre-recorded before we made the move into the studio here. So we will still have the new sheep names will not be up yet. I don't know. We've come up with a plan where we might be able to update it with the pre-existing footage. But it's basically going to come up to me, since I'm the one who does the editing, to try to work that out. So if your littles' names don't show up in this next episode, we haven't forgotten about you. We're going to have those all up in the next live recording that we do here in the studio with the green screen and whatnot. We've got some changes. We've been slowly finalizing the visual look of Little Stories, and since moving into the studio, we have more room to do that. But pretty much we'll have that one coming up. And if we have missed any of your littles, your names, or if you want a sheep for your little, if you're new here, go and check out the later episodes on the Little Stories playlist, and you'll understand what we're talking about by the sheep. We have a wall where there are these wonderful sheep that Roses drew and was kind enough to allow us to use, and each of the sheep has a name of a little on it. That way they can be a part of the safe space and always know that they are part of this area, they are part of this safe space, this is their area. It's a direct connection. So those who have been brave enough, their names are up there. It's not just limited to littles primarily, but if there's some of you singlets out there who would like to have their names, or maybe whatever, we're open to that. It's not just a DID specific thing. That's the main focus, but don't feel ashamed to ask. One of our viewers asked if we could put up some of their late children's names, and we were more than happy to do that for them. So keep that in mind. So we've got the second part of the Echoes of Darkness. We've got another new episode of the Little Stories. There's a couple of other ideas that we've been kicking around. Of course, like we mentioned earlier, Mimi has been wanting some time. So you may, no promises because we have to get everything, like the stars have to align and Mimi has to be in the mood to do her thing. You may be getting another Mimi episode, which we'll be able to leave up because the last one that she did, which unfortunately had to be taken down to preserve privacy of family members that are no longer in the house. So there's that. That's our plans, and then we've kind of got an idea for one other episode that we've been kicking around, but it's heavy. So we're not sure what we're going to do with that. But next month, when we're healing up our heel after the surgery, we'll have plenty of time to work on the episode. So forgive us this brief drought, and after that very long-winded explanation and catch up for you guys, let's see what you have to say. And it's 3 o'clock. We're going to have to close up soon. So we're going to take it to about 3:30 and then go ahead and close down the streams. So, because we got some stuff to do. All right, so let's go back. That's our big, long saga there. Okay, let's see here. Hope this link is okay. It's the most recent I found. It doesn't show up in the chat. Their Majesty, do me a favor, or do us a favor, and go ahead and drop that link in the comment section if you haven't already. I mean, the main comment section itself, so that it shows up, because the live chat takes sometimes up to a full day after the live stream is done for YouTube to process that and for it to show up. So actually, we recommend that you guys watch the streams, give it about a good 12 hours or so for the chat log to catch up if you want to see the chats in the comment. Also, just purely as a YouTube upkeeping thing, the usual like, share, and subscribe. As it turns out, the bell icon there's like 3 different settings. If you click on it, you can do no updates, partial updates, or all updates for our content. So if you guys have been missing, notifications for our new uploads or whatnot, click on the bell icon until it says all notifications or whatnot, because we also do the community posts from time to time, and those don't always show up. Okay, so is that it? Yeah, I think that was the last housekeeping thing. So back to the comments. Okay. Okay. Password journals. Okay, let's see here. Maybe the blockage of a we could overcome with a secure journal. Yeah, hopefully 5. Okay, Blue Rose. We really enjoyed Data playing. Helped us sleep. Good. We're glad. Anything you can do to find some comfort or ease, we're more than happy to provide. Okay, link is okay. It's the most recent I found. Yeah, I'm not showing it, Their Majesty, so just drop it down there in the comments, like we said. Still going? Yeah, we're still going. Zoom done. Oh, you had a Zoom. Okay, yeah. Yes, we're still going, Ellie. Dragon saying links might not show up in chat. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't see any notice, so just drop it down there in the comments. Okay, let's see. Just a Mom says we made a Word doc for daughter to journal. It's password locked and only she has access to it. Good for you. That's very thoughtful. I see that right there proves that these people are wrong. So sorry, we're getting angry on your behalf again. Help to make all of them feel safe writing. She's so afraid for us to know the truth of some things. Yeah, completely. Probably not for the reasons that you think, though. Okay, Their Majesty, yeah, okay, Instagram the link if they like. Yeah, Instagram us that link as well as dropping it in the comment. Okay, just a moment, it's nothing against you, it's just the fear. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Sorry, girls, got the right of it. Spindle, hello, welcome. You popped in the middle of our big, long, this is what happened to us this month rant. It's good to see you. Ellie, I guess I'm happy not to have general anesthesia. Yeah. Well, I mean, I know it's going to be one of these things where it's going to be like they're going to stick the IV and count backwards to 10. We're going to get to about 7, and we're going to wake up again and hopefully not be in a cast, but it'll be all over and done with. But we know there's, going to be residual pain that we're going to have to work through. And we don't like taking painkillers because of everything that happened to us with our back. So it's one of these where it's called chasing the pain. Painkillers are meant to be taken according to the schedule so that their effects overlap and you don't go with a period in between where the concentration of the painkiller is worn off in your body. In fact, this is called chasing the pain. You wait until it's too long between the next doses, and then you're hurting again because the concentration in your blood has dropped below a level where it's effective. So it's a bad thing to do, but we don't like opiate-based painkillers for several reasons, one of which is a complete and valid concern that we will use them to self-medicate. Because when we do take the morpha-based painkillers, the open-based painkillers, like currently they've got us hydrocodone, it makes you feel all nice and warm and fuzzy and insulated and like you're sitting inside of a nice big giant teddy bear. And that's a great feeling, particularly for a trauma victim. But therein lays the trap. And this used to be a lot more prevalent, or at least a lot more of a danger for us before the whole opioid crisis really came to light and physicians stopped, writing out 100-pill prescriptions with 30 refills right off the bat. And now the insurance companies won't pay for anything more than like a 4-day supply, which is good. It's kind of irritating when you are in pain and need to go get more. But yeah, so we know we have been, and we know that we will be chasing the pain, but we're going to try really hard not to do that. So yeah. Anyway, did we have a point there? We're not sure. Let's see here. Yeah, general anesthesia. Okay. Just a mom saying it's up to them, to whomever, to share it with at their time and their pace. Yes. Witchy, wow, that stroke level. Yeah, yeah, the doctors weren't happy with that. You'll be happy to know that we're now at about 120 to 130 over 80. So we're where we should be, considering how hypertensive that we were. Let's see, your dad's first stroke was at 280 over 190. Yeah, so you got it. 5 pieces of 9, body was having a migraine, and our BP was 220 over 150, also stroke level. Pain does that as well. Yes, it does. Their Majesty going to have to sleep soon. It's been wonderful as always. So excited every time we catch a stream. We're happy to have you. Go get some rest. Remember to hydrate. Hydration is very, very important to ourself, to our body, the body's self-being. We are constantly dehydrated, so we're constantly reminding ourselves, drink, drink, drink. Water, water, water. So, Spindle is asking a question for Just a Mom. Only answer if you feel comfortable. I have a question. As a mom, what was it like discovering your daughter has DID? Kudos for you supporting her and for being there. We're going to jump ahead just a little bit to get to Just a Mom's question, and we're going to backtrack over the other comments. Just a Mom says that they noticed right away a few things within the first month, and we have been dealing daily with in life for 6 years now. They are all our kiddos, and it just made our family bigger than planned. That is so sweet. Okay, I'm going to backtrack now because you wanted the thoughts to stay contiguous. Okay, let's see here. Rosa's Rent. Read the Beckett play Craps last tape. Last night I ate 6 bananas. We'll make a note on that. Let's see, just a moment. Okay, I'm sorry, I skipped over a Spindle. We adopted her when she was 8. All they told us was that she was a troubled child. Yeah, no shit. Yeah, 5 pieces 9. Just troubled is pretty vague, exactly. Witchy, Just a Mom, you're an amazing person, just saying. Seconded, thirded, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th over here. Yes. Yes, you are. And as Spindle said, she's lucky to have you. Yes, absolutely. So you hang tight. You hang tight. So yeah, that's what Just a Mom was saying. Noticed a few things right away in the first month. Okay, let's see. Witchy says they want to adopt in the future. Medically dangerous for me to have your own, so you really want to adopt a child in need. Yeah, and good for you. Because there are so many out there. So many out there. We're kind of two minds as to whether or not that would have been to our benefit. Yeah. Because to be dead honest, we had legit fantasies of, that there was going to be a knock on the door someday and our biological father was going to show up and say, you're mine now, I'm going to take you and you're not going to ever have to deal with this. Nobody's ever going to yell at you again. And, but of course that didn't happen. sadly. But yes, if guys, if you're in a position to adopt and, like for difficulties or whatnot, or can't have one of your own or choose not to have one of your own, there are children out there in desperate need of loving families. I think we all know that, but yeah, and kudos to any of you who have adopted, particularly like just a mom. That takes a special kind of person. Yeah, Spindle's crying over, they're all our kiddos, just made our family bigger than planned. Yeah, that hit. So yeah, Witchy, you do that as well. Ellie's saying, childhood I remember is good mostly, but also detached from me. It's like parts of me that are remembered, but not like the me now. It's confusing. 5 pieces 9. So for reasons, we saw a white 2016 van on our street, and then Dan remembered the van he was assaulted in was brown 1970s something van. Is this common to remember out of nowhere? Yes, because that is exactly how it will happen for us. Well, you just literally saw it on the tape not too long ago where we remembered that bit about the journal. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly how it will happen. And you know what? We think we know exactly the type of the van that you're talking about. It was the first Chevy Suburbans were actually vans and not the U.S. With the one with a brown panel faux wood grain side. Yeah. But yeah, no, 5, that is exactly the way that we will do it. And yeah, those can be a flashback trigger, so you have to watch out for those. But yeah, they're random too. Abigail Tunes, my littles love your stories for bedtime. Thank you. We're glad we've been seeing that folks have been hitting the playlist. Keep in mind we have them arranged in order. We think we have from the earliest to the most recent. So as you guys can see, there's been changes to the program over the course of time, and we've made it more refined because we had this original vision of what we wanted it to be, and we're just about there now. But yeah, the more recent episodes are more indicative of the content currently and that to come. But we started it off with Dear Little Ones, which is a heartbreaking but beautiful little book by Jade Miller, who we actually contacted and got her permission to use it and read it there directly. So thank you, Jade. Not that you're probably ever watching this, but thank you anyway. And then we go on. So yes, we're glad that your littles are finding some comfort there, that all of you guys that were working. We just wanted to provide a place where they would be safe no matter what. So yeah, and be able to access that at any point in time, really, hopefully with permission. So yes, thank you, Abigail. Let's see, Ellie to 5 pieces 9. The van itself was probably a flashback trigger. Yeah, exactly. 5 is saying it was so real, like being there, yet out of nowhere. Yeah, you breathed. Yeah, flashback. You just had a memory bit come back. You see, guys, flashbacks don't always have to be the full experience. They are, at least for us, but it can just be just a tiny little niggly part that'll all of a sudden come back. But that little part leads to another part, which leads to another part. And the next thing you know, you're in the middle of a full cascade flashback. So it can be tough to pull yourself back. But yeah, 5, that's exactly. Yeah. And when you're saying it was so real, like being there, yet out of nowhere. Yeah, that is the way that a flashback works. It's the brain is replaying that recording, and you are re-experiencing that moment in time. And this is why we talked about a lot of our alters, the trauma alters being time locked, because their world exists within the span of time when the trauma happened. So yeah, absolutely, it is real. You're re-experiencing it all over again. Except this time you also have the fun perspective of your adult self who is also experiencing this. So you have this double superimposition of time frames and perceptions. But yeah, for the duration of the flashback, you're there, or at least this is the way that we experiencing them. So yeah. Let's see, Witchy, I feel very privileged that even as an age regressor, I get my name on a sheep. Okay, here's our thing with age regression, since we just literally were talking about it a few seconds ago. The alters being within that time of span, and we do have an episode on this. I think it's time, memory, and DID. I can't remember. It's time, memory, and DID where we go into this. Because of the encoding between that particular points in time and if it's particularly heavy repeat trauma, the alters can overlap a little bit in their ages. And plus, say, for example, okay, Christopher, we'll just call him Christopher for the sake of ease, from the ages of 3 to about 5 is his time span there, or that particular time span. So he can be within, he can be 3 or he could be 5 or anywhere in between, but that is still within his perceptual or recorded time span. So we suspect, or at least data does, he's still digging for hard info on this, that this is what causes age sliding. So yeah, and we go into it, or he goes into it more on that video. I think it's time, memory, and DID. Can't remember. Can't look it up at the moment. So yeah, but yeah, absolutely, you're welcome to have your name on a sheet. Spindle saying, good luck with the surgery. Thank you. Coven of a Hydra DID system. Hello there. Didn't know you were looking. Thank you for the kind comments. Let's see. Best wishes on the surgery. Speedy recovery wishes. Thank you. Yeah, Ellie saying, like that Hydra is a system. Yeah, we thought the same thing. That was cool. Let's see. Blue Rose, we understand the taxing job of end-of-life care and being back in the same facility. For us, that is always really hard. Hope your surgery goes well. I'm wishing you a good and speedy recovery. Thank you, Blue Rose. Appreciate that. Ellie's, what's interesting in wisdom teeth, we had more pain before the surgery than after. Told you. Yeah, Ellie, you can't say what happened with other surgeries. I know they got done, but can't remember anything else. Dumb memory blocks. No, not dumb memory blocks. Smart memory blocks. They're what kept you intact, relatively, until now. 5 pieces 9. Wow, I've been taking hydrocodone for migraines for years and have not gotten that warm, fuzzy feeling. Maybe not taking enough. Wait, stop, just stop. Don't take more. Just enough for pain only. Yes. Yes, that's the cycle that can lead to self-medication and is the trap. Ding! Yeah, and as a note on that, just purely, here comes data. Just purely from a biochemical standpoint, there, 12, that's what you're talking about, is there's a buildup. Your body becomes accustomed to that level of painkiller in your system, and from that point on, it requires either a different, more potent painkiller or an increased dose of the same painkiller that you're on. It's a rapidly declining bell curve, basically. So yeah, it's a serious physiological danger, so watch out for that. But yeah, you just described the self-medication cycle very well there. Okay, Witchy, I think a King Arthur series of middle stories of some of the Arthurian tales are a bit too dark for littles. It depends upon which ones. We have the collected works of Howard Pyle, who Percival is considered reading some of those. And they can be a little adult, but not really dark. So I'm not sure which ones you're talking about there. But it could be, yeah. I mean, it's like, for example, we love Mary Stewart's the Crystal Cave trilogy. That's great, particularly the first book. But yeah, it's a little dark. Lisa saying I wasn't able to adopt her, but I fostered a girl from 8 to 18. She was such a blessing, a rascal, but a huge blessing. Still good for you, even temporary. You provided a stable home for a child in need. 5 saying, never remembered to that clarity before. Yeah, that's how we experience the flashbacks. Witchy, your flashbacks are nearly always just quick snippets, but the emotional side of them lasts longer than the snippet image. Yo, yeah. Yeah, it seems like we're unfortunate that we get the full brunt of it every time. Or at least once the whole flashback has started, because like we were just describing with John's, the junior high school trauma starting to dribble out, that's how it will happen, is we'll get these sudden moments when we're there. It's like the last one we had, it was Mimi who was fronting, and we were in the central corridor area, which had all these descending little steps, sitting there, and we knew that we had just gotten a book from the library, or she knew, and we were sitting down looking at it, but it was just a brief, all of a sudden we're there, and then we're back here. So, but we've had a lot of these, which we know means that a bigger piece of the trauma is about to come out. So we've kind of been going, and I've been doing our best to prepare everyone for this, because it could be nasty. And we're kind of without a therapist right there to help us out at one of the nastier ones. So it's going to be a big test for our tools, and we're trying to deal with it in small chunks so that that doesn't happen. But yeah, we're kind of real scared, legit freaked about that right now. So anyway, yes, the emotional impact of those, yes. Our trauma dreams are the same way. Not the trauma nightmares, but the dreams that we have off of them have a lasting emotional impact. Okay, just a mom. Lisa loving a rascal for 10 years makes her yours anyway, is how I see it. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Ellie's saying, I'm sure we have trauma holders, but it just feels like none of those trauma memories and flashbacks are coming up. It doesn't feel like they're stuck in time, though. I know one is infinitely depressed and sad, but there are like no memories coming from her. Don't poke. They will come out on their own. Trust us on this. It may not feel like anything is there. It may not feel like they're ready to share them, but they are going to come out on their own time. When the amygdala decides that it's going to unlock that file, like it's doing with us right now, there isn't anything you're going to be able to do to stop it. But don't poke for it, because you will rapidly overwhelm yourself with trauma. Trust us on this, because we poked at the beginning and we learned. So yeah, don't poke, Ellie. Trust us, it's there. Trauma doesn't lie. If you have the effects of the trauma, it's there. Okay, so Witchy, between 6 to 10ish, my mind goes back to when I regress. Can't be too sure though, as that time span is a blur as general anyway. Yeah, 5 pieces of 9 to prevent tolerance of any one med. We float between hydrocodone and tramadol because they hit slightly different receptors. Yeah, we've been on all of those. Tramadol does not agree with us. That was the stuff we were taking for our back before we switched over to marijuana. So yeah, we understand what you're saying, and better, you understand what we're saying. Lisa's saying, she still calls me mama and she's almost 40. Yes, because you were the mother for her during those important years. Take that as a high compliment. 5 pieces of 9 at Witchy, thanks for your input, means more than you know. Witchy saying, most welcome. No, you're not a system, but can relate to some, and I'm here with an understanding ear for anyone. Yeah, 5 pieces of 9 at Ellie. Be careful what you ask for. You may get more than you expect. That is absolutely correct. Okay, guys, it is about 3:30 now. We're going to go ahead and close it out. If you have any last questions, hit us up with them now. We've already covered what's been happening to us this month. We covered what we have coming up in the next month. Was there anything else? Sorry, Data is running down his list of things that we needed to talk about and or cover.